Alright, we're back again with some more upgrades on the motorized bike. I've been really enjoying this build just because it hasn't been costing me anything to modify. I'm fairly excited about the parts that I have for it today because it actually is going to make quite a bit of a difference. First things first, I found this bike on Marketplace for 20 bucks. It looks like a hunk of shit because it is. The reason I got it was because it came with these triple tree style front shock forks, which I'm going to be trying to put on the motorized bike today. And that'll not only give me some shocks, but I'm also going to have some brakes now. The cable on it is super short because it's from like a mountain bike straight bar, but even if I have to put the lever like somewhere up here just so at least I have some sort of a brake, that would be better than nothing. The bike also came with this like old school seat. I'm not really sure how much of it I can use, but I did like the cover. It kind of has like an old school look, so I might try to rig that on. And I got a small sprocket here. This is something that was free to me because I found it in my storage. This is from one of my old BMX bikes from back in the day. The reason I'm going to put this on here is because ever since I put the motor on this bike, it's extremely hard to pedal. And if I put this sprocket on the front, it'll make it extremely easy to pedal. And considering that's how you start the bike now, that will be a solid upgrade. And then I finally ordered the ZDX 65 expansion pipe. I'm not really sure because it's giant how good it's going to fit, but also going to be trying to throw that on today and seeing how much performance we can get out of this pipe alone. If everything goes as planned, I might just do a little backyard paint job, if you know what I mean. So for starters, I'm going to get the front fork off and try to get the shock fork on right away. Another thing, I'm going to probably use the front rim off of this bike from Marketplace because it's not bent and mine is. So, alright, update. Did score on the front forks. They are able to go onto this bike and I like the way it looks. But the first problem we're running into is the actual fork tube is smaller than the old one. So the head tube or the head stem here doesn't actually fit down in. So probably gonna be stealing this one off of this bike and then cutting the top off and then welding my bars back onto this stem just so we can get this all to work. I know I literally just welded this up last video, but whatever, we can cut that off and restart, I guess. So I got some cutting and some welding and we'll be back with an update.
3 hours later.
Alright, so pretty big update here. We got the front forks on, and as you saw in the last clip, I was having fitment issues with the stem, but I cut it off. I got kind of lazy and I didn't do like a super clean job. I just gobbed it back on with some weld and got the front shock forks working. So that part is good to go. Now I got the crank off because I'm wanting to do that sprocket, which I got it over here in the vise. If you've ever removed a bicycle crank, there's just a washer and spacer assembly that you can unscrew, and then there's this little collar in here you loosen off and you can actually slide the old sprocket off. And like I said, I'm going with the smaller one, so then that'll go on and then I'll put the collar back on. And the reason for a smaller sprocket is it'll make it easier to pedal the bike and get it started now. Alright guys, I've been working single-handed down here, so I haven't had too many hands to pull the camera out. Yeah, I went ahead and did a backyard black paint job, and as you can see, I did get the exhaust on. I think the exhaust looks sweet. However, I'm unable to ride it because it hits the front of the expansion pipe. And because I can't hold the wheels straight, I can't get the bike even started for a sound test. So that means I'm gonna have to come up with a solution, and yeah, then we'll be back after that. But I did get the small front sprocket on and it's way easier to pedal the bike now. And the front shock fork and brakes do work good. However, if I have to put a smaller wheel on the front brakes may not work. So Whatever. All right, I'm back here the next day on the bike. I had to obviously put the stock exhaust pipe back on and ride it back over just to see if it would work. I took the front rim off and I took the 20-inch rim off of one of my old BMX bikes. Put it on the bike because I'm desperately wanting to hear what it sounds like with the new exhaust pipe. So I'm going to quickly throw that on really quick and get it fired up just to see what it sounds like. I'm fighting for solutions to try to figure out what would look right for this. And I'm just curious, I might put 20-inch wheels front and back. I don't know. Drop down in the comments what you guys think that would look like. I'm probably going to be changing the bars again, or at least shortening them, because they're just not really looking, they're not really matching the look of the bike anymore. But if I had two 20-inch wheels on here, maybe that would work. And I mean, in theory, technically, I could just cut the frame and extend it so that I could keep it exactly the way it is. But what if we put 20-inch wheels on the bike? That would change the gearing ratio a little bit and probably give it a little more torque. So let me throw the exhaust pipe on really quick. All right, I got the exhaust pipe back on, and I actually really enjoyed the exhaust pipe. It has a good fitment around the frame, and you can tell that it was designed nice, so I didn't want to cut and re-weld that because that would have destroyed it. But I don't have the hanger mocked up yet. I'll do that, at a different point. But it does clear with the 20-inch front rim. So I'm going to try to get it started here. It is like probably no warmer than 10 degrees out right now, so not sure how well it's going to start, but I'm going to do it for you guys. Feels really weird with a 20-inch front rim now, but I guess it does work. Well, it's really cold out. I'm trying to get it fired back up. All right, one more time. It definitely sounds way different, so that's going to be that. It's freezing cold out here. The bike does not want to stay running. Back here for another day on the motorized bike. Last time we left off, we put the small front wheel on the front so that we could fit the new exhaust pipe, and we did get it fired over. I'm loving the way it sounds, but we can't keep it looking like this. I can't stand having a big back wheel and a small front wheel. If it was the other way around, it wouldn't be as big of an issue. So I did make another marketplace purchase. I bought this little bike online. I'm kind of keeping the trend with $20 bikes. This was only $20. You may be asking yourself, why are you buying a children's bike? The reason is strictly just because I want to see what the bike would perform like with small wheels on it. I know that if you put a smaller wheel on your drive wheel, your acceleration is better. I don't know how much, but I'm dying to see what the answer to that is. The reason why I keep going with like children's bikes and stuff like that is because they have the coaster brake rear hub, which is just like what's on the Beach Cruiser from factory, and my hub mounted sprocket is specific for that style of hub diameter. So I have to use a coaster brake rear hub. I'm sure I could machine some sort of a collar to fit inside of there to use any wheel I'd want, but it just works better with the correct size. So real quickly, I'm going to go ahead and remove the rear wheel off of this bike and that bike, and probably going to end up taking this over to the shop so I can take the sprocket off, and I have a new inner tube for this. For those of you who are wondering, this is a 16-inch rim. So for now, we're going to be having a 16 on the back and a 20 on the front. If I can put both 16s on the bike, I definitely will try it just for scientific purposes. But yeah, that's where we're at. There. I don't know how well it's going to work, but it does fit. This wheel is a little bit beat up, but it's a 16-inch toy from the 90s, so kind of expected that. But just for a quick test fit. Well, how does it look? Here, let me get this one out of the way. Oh yeah. Look at that fender gap back there. No, in all honesty, I'll probably be removing the rear fender. There's not really a reason to keep it on there. I guess if you picture it without the rear fender, it kind of would look like maybe it was stretched, but nonetheless, it's way smaller of a bike. I mean, I now, instead of sitting up on it, have to sit down on it. I think these bars need to be a little bit shorter too, so that's something we're going to be doing. Whenever I decide exactly what wheel size that I'm going to be going with for good, I'm going to come up here and cut this bracket off of these front forks because this is steel. And this is the bracket that actually holds the brake calipers. So I can actually weld that on anywhere on these forks or on the back of the frame in order to get brakes to work. And then I can just get like a long cable off of eBay or something. So not worried about the brake situation. That is going to be changing. I'm dying to see what the bike's performance is with a 16-inch rear wheel. Considering we're going from a 26 to a 16, that's a 10-inch drop. So I'm going to get everything loaded back up, and I'm going to take this over to the shop and put a new inner tube in it, so I know that it's going to be good holding my fat ass on it. Also, another thing, obviously we're lowering the bike closer to the ground. If the cranks now hit the ground upon pedaling, I do have a solution for that as well. Actually, these cranks off of this small children's bike, it's the same American bottom bracket, so this crank will work on that bike, and the arms themselves are shorter by about 2.5 inches a piece. So if I need to throw this crank on there, I can do that. Guys, you cannot make this shit up. So yesterday, this is the next day now, Yesterday, when I was loading everything up in the van to go over to the shop, I forgot that this was sitting on the ground behind the van, and I accidentally drove over it. And yeah, so that's not usable now. That being said, I did go after work to pick up another marketplace bike. This one's a 20-inch, so it is a little bit bigger, obviously, but still smaller wheels. All right, got all the bikes down here in the shop. Quick overview of what I plan to do. I'm gonna put these wheels on the bike. I'm gonna use those two tires and take the white ones off so I'm not rocking white tires. And I might take these bars off and put them on the bike. I don't know, I'm not really liking those ones anymore now that I have a different option. But then also this bike does have some brake cables, and all the brakes work on it, so I might be able to use the brakes from this bike. So I'm gonna get set up and basically play musical bikes. Alright, sadly, as much as I don't want to run the white girly tires with a purple stripe on it, the tires that I have on my BMX bike are so old that there's really no point in trying to swap these over. So probably just going to keep the white tires just for now. It's not a huge deal anyways. And then down the road, if that's what I'm going to keep it as, then I will get some new tires. I'm going to go ahead and take the sprocket off of the bent 16-inch rim and put it onto the new 20-inch rim now. You guys see me just do this, so I'm not going to actually record it twice. So that's what we're going to do. Green sprocket on the purple rim. So in theory, if we just welded the bracket on back to this spot, they would work. We just kind of lowered it like 3 or 4 inches because it's a smaller wheel. Because this fork is meant for a 26-inch rim, and this is a 20.
Oh, is that a bike you're doing?
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Dude,
it's,
you almost done?
well, it's never done. It's always just modifying it every Saturday. But.
Wow, okay, I got you.
All right, we got the new bars on here. I was able to use the brake line from that children's bike that I got in order to get working brakes on this bike. So now we're just gonna swap over the throttle, and the grips and everything. All right, we didn't get to fully finish the bike today. Some trouble I was having is the front purple rim is actually too skinny for these forks, so I just had to keep running the same front wheel. I did weld the brake bracket down lower and use the spare brake line to get brakes working now, and We threw these other bars on here, so they don't have like that old school look anymore. But yeah, alignment on the chain isn't great, but it is working currently. I'll just have to make some adjustments. But I'm gonna try to get it fired over really quick and see how different it feels. Accelerates a lot harder already as is. All right, maybe we take it outside for a quick test run. Also, the cranks do come really low to hitting the ground, but I didn't have to change it. All right, so as you can see it, that is the motorized bike. It rides way different with a 20-inch back wheel. It just has it more acceleration because there's less turning force, whatever. But yeah. Obviously, like I said, there still will need to be a few adjustments done to the bike, and we're not going to keep these mismatched wheels forever. Eventually, we will get a matching set of wheels. As soon as we get this bike to a point to where I like to keep it the way it is, I will take everything back apart and we'll give this a decent backyard paint job. So yeah, drop down in the comments what you guys think of the bike. Maybe if you guys have any ideas on what to try next. But if you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.